and the interior here now in shambles. He said to us, he's thinking about turning this into a patio because this is now 2 years in a row that something like this has happened here. But again, we'll come back outside, Jose, and just show you, despite what you're seeing here in this shop, and you'll hear it in the background, he's already got repairs underway here. For the most part, downtown Perry is doing okay. And it's really just remarkable because we were looking at all these street signs, some of it already tilted over yesterday, and expecting to just see a lot of projectiles. And a lot of this seems to have held intact. We lost power overnight. Still, many people are going to be without power. It is sunny. It is hot, which means people don't have the air conditioning might be trying to fire up generators. That brings its own risk to life. And then we did just see some preliminary information from the National Hurricane Center saying that preliminary modeling is showing that this county, this area, could have seen in portions storm surge over 15 feet. I spoke with someone from the county earlier this morning. He told me they did not have any reports as far as this PIO, this public information officer, was aware, did not have any reports of deaths in this county so far, which is good news. But I can tell you, Jose, that the sheriff in Taylor County here had told me yesterday he was estimating around 200 people. As many as 200 people may have refused evacuation orders along the low-lying coastal areas. And we know that the storm surge is something that you cannot escape once it is on its way. So, hoping that we continue to not hear anything about deaths to be reported, but officials here had asked people to write their name and their date of birth and their information, their personal information on their body and permanent marker so that they could be identified if it came to that, Jose.
Jesse Kirsch, thank you very much. And joining us now is the mayor of Tampa, Florida, Jane Castor. Mayor, thank you very much for being with us. The storm made landfall about 140 miles from Tampa, but your city was hit hard, and we're talking about, Jesse was talking about storm surge. What did your area experience?
Really, it was a storm surge. We had minimal wind damage. I just saw your coverage of the damage, structural damage in Perry. We had very little of that, but we did have some significant storm surge. Right around 7 feet in neighborhoods around our community that had already been saturated from previous rainstorms. And so we had a great deal of flooding. Although we gave the evacuation notices, our law enforcement and fire rescue began receiving calls around midnight. About 150 of those calls to be rescued from their residences that were experiencing flooding. They were able to get boats out in the water when it was safe, and they rescued about 50 individuals and several pets.
And so how are your residents doing this morning?
We're doing good today. Sun's out, wind's down. A lot of the water is receded, the tide's out, and so, there are a number of streets that are still flooded. We have a particularly low-lying area, Davis Islands. Just about every street in the Davis Islands neighborhood still has standing water on it, and we actually, just about 9 o'clock this morning, we were able to gain access to that island. As you know, we have a number of bridges that connect Hillsborough County with Pinellas County, and so we were just able to open one of those bridges, the Gandy, in a westbound direction, and the rest of the bridges are being investigated and ensuring that they don't have any structural damage by our Florida Department of Transportation. Electric company's doing a great job getting the electricity turned back on. There were some areas they couldn't reach, like Davis Island. They're there now, restoring that electricity. So they've gone from about 120,000 customers out to right around 50,000, and we expect that to drop very quickly.
Mayor, for the folks that don't know just how extraordinarily beautiful the Tampa Bay area is and where it's located and how it can very much be affected by issues like the storm surge. Tell us a little bit about that. I mean, it's unique in so many ways. You got Tampa, St. Petersburg, you got the Bay, you've got so much going on there.
Right. It is. We like to say we have the good fortune of living in paradise, and that's the majority of the days of the year. But, one of the few downsides is that we do experience these storms, whether they're tropical storms or hurricanes. I try not to say this out loud too often, but it's been over 100 years since we have taken a direct hit. But just to see that Helene was over 100 miles off our coast, and still we had close to 7 feet of storm surge. And we benefited from a low tide at the highest storm surge. So that saved us probably 3 feet of flooding there. So we're very fortunate, but we're going to be cleaning up for several days.
Yeah, is there any kind of help that you're looking for, help that you need?
No, we're good. We're good. Matter of fact, we'll be sending individuals up to the Panhandle to be able to help our friends and neighbors up in that area with whatever issues that they need. We're doing our assessment damages right now. That includes private property. I actually went up in one of our police department helicopters today, so I was able to see from above what areas are still flooded, and the water is receding out of the majority of those areas. So just a lot of cleanup to do.
Tampa Mayor Jane Castor, I thank you very much for being with us. I know it's been an extremely
Really
long couple of days and one long night. Joining us now is Barbara Tripp, Fire Chief for Tampa Fire Rescue. Chief Tripp, thank you for being with us. I know that you have not slept one bit, but talk to us about these last hours. How have they been for your community? We're just speaking with the mayor there. What are some of the issues that you dealt with?
I would say probably the peak time of the surge coming in probably hit Tampa around about 10:30, 11 o'clock. The number of calls that we responded to, some of the individuals are trapped that was in evacuation areas that we had to go and rescue. Some calls we could not respond to because it was so dangerous to my first responders. It's been busy. It's been busy for the last 24 hours. We've had multiple situations that dealt with lithium-ion batteries, whether it was an EV car or whether it was some scooters. We've had down power lines. Wind has been blowing, and flooding is definitely a must. It's been a lot of water here in Tampa.
What kind of issues have you had with the down power lines and then the EV lithium battery issues?
So as of now, it's still under investigation, but we believe one of the homes that did burn, it was an EV car that was in the garage. And of course, salt water and lithium ion batteries do not agree. So that definitely will cause a fire. And with the down power lines from the heavy winds, the gusts of the winds, some of the lines come down, get on trees, start sparking. And of course, if it's a shed, if it's a house, then of course it starts firing.
Chief, what are some of the things that, and when one lives in an area that is affected by these kinds of issues, as all of us in Florida have to deal with, all of us have to look for, what always kind of brings me such pride are the men and women that work with you and for you, that throughout our state are willing to do anything and everything to help save lives. What motivates people like you and your team?
Well, that's what made this profession just the #1 profession in the world. And the reason I say we enjoy helping people, the men and women of Tampa Fire Rescue as well as Tampa Police Department did not stop. They haven't had no sleep. They're constantly working. Our dispatchers are taking calls in. I mean, we talk about like a call every second. And so it's that dedication, that commitment that they want to do to serve their community as well as the country as well. So my hat goes off to all the Tampa Fire Rescue men and women, as well as our dispatchers and, of course, Tampa Police Department, first responders throughout the state of Florida as well.
Yeah, I mean, and these are people who are helping others when they live in these communities. They're also being affected. They have families that are being affected by it, and yet they are out there helping others and serving others. Barbara Tripp, Tampa Fire Chief, I thank you very much for being with us this morning. Very much appreciated.
Thank you.
And joining us now, NBC meteorologist Bill Cairns. Bill, good morning to you again. you have just been all over this. You were so clear on what we could be expecting. Tell me what you saw, felt, and tell us what's going forward.
Yeah, this is a storm that I'll always remember, Jose, as, overachieving at the end. We thought it'd be a major hurricane, but I don't think many of us thought it would get up to 140. And the forecast all along was, towards Tallahassee, the Big Bend of Florida, where everyone was like, is it going to turn towards Tampa? Could this be finally the one that Tampa gets? Now, they didn't take the direct hit, but they still saw a historic storm surge, highest water levels ever recorded. I think that surprised a lot of people. It's hard for people to get the concept of this storm's not going to hit you directly, but yet it's going to bring you higher water levels than you've ever seen before. And so the pictures that we saw with people in their living rooms in kayaks, the St. Petersburg area and around Tampa Bay, I think that surprised some people. And that was, I think we're just beginning to figure out the scope of how many properties and houses have been flooded. And practically now they're ruined. They have to be gutted. Mold's a big problem in Florida, as you know, if you get water into your walls. So that's that part of it. And then this part that's going on today is historic. I mean, people will be talking about this for decades, the rain event that's taking place with the storm. So the winds are down to 45 miles per hour. Not really worried about that too much. But everywhere you see in this pink magenta color here is under what we call a flash flood emergency. This is where water rescues are happening right now. There's water going through towns and communities. There's roads being washed out. There's landslides. There's dams that are being breached. There's dams that the gates are all open because the lake is flooding behind it. They have no choice but to release the water. So this is all happening. Very dangerous conditions here in the mountains of North Carolina, now pushing up into Virginia, upstate of South Carolina from Greenville, Spartanburg, and Atlanta still has about 2 or 3 rivers that they're still waiting to crest, and we still have a flash flood emergency for Atlanta. So this is just all because of the rain we had before the storm and then with the storm last night. Now that rain is ending. We're just about done. Knoxville, Asheville, Greenville, Atlanta. Now we just have to wait for all the water to collect, head into the rivers, crest, and then all the damage will be done. In addition, what's left of the storm is going to pour today and tonight into areas here, Nashville, Paducah, everywhere in between Bowling Green, along the Ohio River here, southern Indiana. This is where we could see an additional maybe 4 to 6 inches and some additional flooding. And then the other thing I have to watch all afternoon is the potential for these tornadoes in eastern North Carolina. We currently have 5 tornado warnings that are going. This one here is close to the Durham area here, just outside of Durham. This one to the south of Raleigh. We're going to have to watch that going through Raleigh. I know in Raleigh right now, you're under a flash flood warning, and eventually you may be under a tornado warning here shortly. So a lot of the damage has been done, Jose, but this storm is not finished yet. And I think it's surprised a lot of people, Jose. There are more power outages in South Carolina right now than in Florida or Georgia. This storm hit South Carolina a lot harder than a lot of people there were expecting.
And, Bill, we got to keep looking out because the hurricane season is still underway till November.
I wish we were done.
Thank you. We all do. Appreciate it. Stay with us as we take a look at the devastation left by Helene. We're going to go to Atlanta, where water rescues are underway. And later, we're going to turn to politics, where just moments ago, these are the pictures you're seeing. Former President Trump met with President Zelensky of Ukraine. We'll play for you what they had to say in just 90 seconds. You're watching Jose Díaz-Balart Reports on MSNBC.
Introducing Ned's Plaque Psoriasis.
Ned, what are you wearing?
He thinks his flaky red patches are all people see.
Otezla is the #1 prescribed pill to treat plaque psoriasis.
Ned?
Otezla can help you get clearer skin and reduce itching and flaking. With no routine